We are live, ladies and gentlemen, for my favorite day of the week, because I get to scream at the top of my lungs and wake everybody up in the house. Hump day! It's hump day, baby. Woo! Love hump days. Not for the reasons you think either. I just love camels. All right, good morning, traders. Welcome back. Happy Wednesday, June 4th, 2025. It's crazy saying June, man. It's already freaking 6 months into the year. It's like, where does time go? Just flies by. Just poof, gone. Poof, gone. Like, where'd it go? Only happened when I hit 30, by the way. In my 20s, I'm like, dude, come on. Speed up your time a little bit. Now I hit 30. It's like, where'd the last 3 years of my life go? Jeez, man. They weren't joking when they said time flies when you hit 30. And then when you have kids. But good morning. Hit me with it. You guys know the deal. I need a good morning from everybody. Audio check. Make sure we're good. Then we'll officially dive into today's session. Getting you guys prepared for the trading day. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the good mornings. You should see everything taken. 3, 2, 1. Oh, wait, that's happened already. Yes, it went to the downside. Sizzy. I'm going to start calling you the Sizzy. The Sizzler, what's up? Tom, good morning. Want to make sure that Mike is good as well, team. Mike was having some issues with the stream buffering. Let's make sure Mike is up in here, good to go. We don't want to leave Mike on the sidelines. Don't want to do that, do we? All right, so I'm going to dive into it. If you guys would be awesome. It'd be awesome if Mike has any concerns or issues. Just kind of guide him, help him, a little refresh of the browser, maybe try and clear some cache. I'm not sure, but I'm going to go right into it, start breaking things down, and we're going to get you guys prepped for the day. All right, so we're going SPY right to the larger time frame. All right, and we're going to start breaking this bad boy down, talk about what we got. So I already know that we have that zone of supply on the SPY. Right, we have that nice little supply zone on the SPY daily, so we obviously want to mark that up. But I see price has already come back in to that initial zone, hit some of those unfilled orders, popped out. So I honestly only want to look at the supply area where price has yet to go. And so this would be that supply zone where price has yet to revisit. So at least I know this is the area where there's probably going to be some unfilled orders left behind where we can see the reaction in price. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and mark that zone up, and I think we already hit it here this morning. We did. Look at price. This morning, pre-market on the SPY, come up, supply, fall. Hit it, fall. Hit it, starting to drop on out. So we're taking out a lot of those unfilled orders. Price is having a hard time getting through that level, and we're starting to see price fade and fall in pre-market, just a little bit off those pre-market highs. So we got that daily supply zone that's left. All right. There's even a daily zone of resistance chilling up here as well. It's the same zone of daily resistance that we were discussing yesterday. Right. So let's go ahead and mark that daily zone of resistance up. Take that zone, extend it out to the left, and then make any of those little fine-tune adjustments that you need to make to the zone to really get her dialed the freak in. And that's what you're just doing. You're just dialing it in. And so we got this zone between 597.30 to 598.02. What makes this a significant zone? Number one, the amount of hits we've got off the zone. The zone has a lot of daily hits, a lot of daily touch points. That's number one. Number two, we've got sharp, significant moves off that zone. So let's talk about it, right? I got 1, 2, 3 hits off the zone right here. There's 4 hits. That's 5 hits. And I'm just counting hits. 6 hits, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. That zone's got 17 different hits, 17 different touch points, whether that's a high a day, a low a day, an open or a close, right? So we got a lot of hits, and that zone is about 70 cents wide. So it's not a large zone. It's a nice, tighter zone. But I'm really concerned about the types of moves we've seen off the zone. So here's a sharp move. We hit that zone as a low a day, nice, strong bounce into the close, followed by a gap up push on day number 2. So that's a very strong bounce and a very sharp move off that zone. Cool. I like it. Here's a gap up open high a day before that big dump on off. That's a very sharp move off that zone. I mean, we gap up into it. We open inside of it. We hit that zone as the high a day at nearly 598, and we dump down to 587 that day. That's a big, sharp move off that zone right there. And then same thing here. We got some really sharp moves. High day rejection, massive red day. High day rejection, massive red day. That's a key zone for those reasons. It's got a lot of hits, sharp moves off of it. That's a very key zone of resistance that I'm willing to take puts off of. Oh, wow. It's the same zone that we came to in pre-market, hit it as resistance, and we dropped. Huh. Interesting. These zones sound like they're just weird. A zone of resistance, that's not going to work. Well, get good at finding the zones. And then what you start to notice is like 70% of the time we hit a zone, it makes a pretty nice move off the zone. So we came up into that zone of resistance in pre-market. We're having a hard time getting through it. And it's also the very bottom end of that supply zone. So there's a lot going on overhead on the SPY. It's going to take a lot to get us through that zone of resistance in all of that daily supply. So we know we got a boatload of work to do overhead. And so that's where we're going to kind of finish to the upside, right? I already know there's going to be a lot of work to do getting through that supply, getting through that zone of resistance, right? So that's an area that I kind of want to get short off of today. But let's say we keep just pushing higher and we just completely blast through all that supply and mitigate it. Well, then I would look to take this long off that zone. But I just don't see it happening for some reason. I'm just like, there's a lot of work to do to get the SPY through that region. But let's say it does break through supply. It does break that zone of resistance. We mitigate supply, so we remove it altogether. And now we're looking at that zone to hold as support. Where could we see the SPY go next? I would say the next area of resistance that the SPY would be getting to is going to be this daily zone of resistance between 599.26 to 599.69. And what do you notice about that zone of resistance? It's a dialed in zone. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 hits off that zone. And we see a lot of sharp moves off that zone too. But what else do you notice about that zone of resistance? It's at the very tippity top of that supply. So here's how I'm looking at the SPY. If we break this first zone of resistance and we hold it as support, would I want to play the SPY long? Not really, because I'm getting long through all of this supply. And I just don't want to get long in all of this daily supply where it just may be hard to see price move to the upside. So if we do break that first zone of resistance, we hold it as support, I'm not touching it. I would wait to see if we get up to our second level of resistance, which is the very top of daily supply, and that's where I'm actually looking to take puts. So I wouldn't take the long up to that 599.50 level. I would wait to see if price could actually get there, and then if price does get there, looking to play the puts off the top of that daily supply, off that daily zone of resistance. Right, but my first plan, I'm looking to get short off that first zone of resistance, off some of that daily supply, expecting to see price move to the downside. But that's the million-dollar question. Where could price go? Well, first area I'm going to look at is going to be yesterday's close. So I just want to go ahead and mark up yesterday's close. And that's going to be like the first area that I'm looking at, right, as far as a potential target. But again, price is starting to fall below yesterday's close. But I still want to just have yesterday's close marked on up. That's going to be an area that we could hit as some form of support resistance today. But there's going to be some other key dialed in zones to the downside. For example, we got this zone to the downside right here. And it was really just created over the last, week? So, I mean, I'm looking at, we had a high-a-day rejection on Friday, May 16th, and then we gapped back down below the zone, hit it as high-a-day on the 20th, and then we dropped hard to the downside. So, I mean, I only get 3 points in this region. I get 1, 2, 3 hits, 3 points off that zone. That's not enough. right? Do I have any other valid hits and valid points? Well, let's count. I have 2 more here, so that's 5. I have 2 more here, so that's 7. So I got 7 hits. That's 8 hits. I got 9 hits. So I got a zone with about 9 hits. That's a good zone. It's got some, hits off of it. But now I'm looking for the types of moves we've seen off the zone. I want to see sharp, significant moves. Gap up, open, high a day. Nice rejection. Not bad. Nice little drop off that zone here. So we got a nice little sharp move. Low a day bounce, and we saw a nice little $4 pop off that zone on that low a day bounce. Not a bad zone. Not a bad little sharp move off of it. So, it's a good zone. And so when I go through and I grade my zones on a scale of 1 to 10, this zone would probably get a 5, But look at these top zones, right? That zone has 13 hits, and the types of sharp moves we've seen off of them have been insane. That zone would get a 9. So I'm going to grade these top 2 zones as 9s. There's some pretty significant zones. This zone, it's still a good zone. It's got like 8 hits. The moves are pretty decent off the zone. Not as sharp as I would like to see, not as significant, but still pretty good. But it doesn't get an 8 or a 9 on my grading. It gets a 5. So what does this mean for me? The zones that are 9s, I'm definitely ready to take a trade off that zone with good price action. 100%. Good price action, great zone. That's all I care about. I'm taking a trade. That zone that's a 5, even with good price action off that zone that's a 5, I still want another confluence. Just personal preference. It's a good zone, but it's not that significant. So I want to make sure that I have as many additional confluences as possible off that zone that's a 5, right? Versus the zone that I rate as a 9. That's just a lot more significant to where I'm just willing to take a trade the second price gets there and we have good price action. All right, so that's going to be a decent little zone to the downside. That zone is between 594.06 to 594.55. And coming on down. Next zone is going to be the same zone that we had from yesterday. That's going to be down between 588.95 to 589.58. All right. So what do we have on the SPY? We have 2 top zones of resistance, 2 lower zones of support, and we have all of this daily supply. All right. Is there anything else that we could technically do on this daily time frame? Is there any other confluence that we have here? I would say yes. I would say that this is a decent leg to the upside, right? So we have this nice little higher low followed by a higher high. That is a nice leg that broke the prior swing high. So we could put a fib retracement on this leg. So let's go take a fib retracement from this swing low on Friday. So that's Friday's candle. And we're going to drag this fib all the way up to the high. Okay, and we're going to probably make an adjustment to that fib retracement as we drill this down into some lower time frames. What's one thing that you already notice? If we were to see a healthy 50% retracement on this leg before seeing the next leg up, where does that 50% retracement put you? It puts you down at that 589 zone. So you got 589 being a good support zone, and you have that fib's golden pocket that's nearby that 50% level. So that's going to be a really good area to see a higher low form before getting the next leg to the upside. So that's going to be a pretty strong area of support that I'm willing to get long off of, and it's right at that fib's golden pocket. So we can put a fib retracement here from swing low to swing high. That's something else that we can do on a daily. Is there anything else on a daily that we can do here? I don't really see anything else. I really don't. We got all of our key zones. We have supply overhead. Demand's way down here, so I'm not too concerned about demand for today. And we got that fib. So I think we're good to go on the daily. I feel pretty dialed in. Let's go ahead and flip this bad boy down into a 4-hour time frame. And we just want to make an adjustment to this fib. So we got swing low, swing high was pre-market highs. So that's going to be your swing high. So we got to make an adjustment to that fib into these pre-market highs. Then we got the swing low. So this is the fib. And again, I like where that fib's golden pocket is. It lines up with that daily zone of support. And I already know there's going to be demand down there as well because I can see that drop base rally formation. So I know there's going to be some lower time frame demand that lines up with my zone, that lines up with that golden pocket, making this an A+ area to get long on the SPY if and when price gets there. So now we're going to do some more supply demand analysis on our 4-hour time frame. Do I have any 4-hour supply overhead? I do not. Where do I have my 4-hour demand zone? Way down here. And I know I got this little drop base rally formation right here, but that's going to be a pretty large 4-hour demand zone. I already know I'm going to have a smaller, lower time frame zone of demand. So I already know there's 4-hour demand here, but to keep my chart clean, I'm not going to mark it up. I'm going to go straight into my 1-hour time frame because I know that my demand zone down here is going to be smaller. Drop base. Do we have two basing? We got this drop base. Drop base rally, or you can see that we have this little 1-hour rally, base rally. But we got that drop base rally formation down here. So let's go ahead and mark up that 4-hour demand zone. And we can see that we're getting some overlap. We got that daily zone of support. We have some 4-hour demand. But here's the problem is that demand zone was created from the prior session. So you always got to look left. We had that rally, base, rally. Price comes down, hits those unfilled orders, and pops out. So this is actually a hit. That's a hit off the demand that was created here. We have that rally, base, rally. Price comes down, hits those unfilled orders, pops. That's a hit. Right, so we got to understand that zone still has technically one hit off of it. Right, so anything else on a 1 hour? I mean, you got this other little demand candle sitting right here. We got this rally, base, rally, but that was created in pre-market session. So that was created in pre-market, but there was 1 million shares that drove price out. So, I mean, hey, there was some volume to back this up. So I'm going to still mark up this basing candle right here because we do have the rally, we have the base, we have the rally, right? And the amount of volume was about 100,000 shares, and then we followed through on this candle with about 1 million shares through the open. So yeah, you're gonna have a nice little potential little demand zone for a possible little bounce, and then we got some of that demand down here that already technically has a hit off of it, right? So we're done on the 1-hour time frame. Let's go flip this into a 30-minute time frame. Price looking left, looking left, looking left. Where is going to be my 30-minute demand? Well, I do have a little drop base rally formation, but that 1 hour still looks better than the zone I would throw up on a 30, so I'm going to stick with my hour. Then I'm going to go ahead and drill this down into a, again, 30-minute looking left. That was that hit. I don't see any clear structure on a 30 for demand down below. And then we're going to go wrap it up on a 15. Is there anything on a 15 that really stands out? No. Nothing that really stands out where I'm going to have some zones on zones. So here's what I'm left with, guys. I'm left with all of my daily analysis and then getting into some of my lower time frames. And so then I'm going to start to visualize the types of trades that could potentially set up today. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to start to visualize the plans. So if I start to see something setting up, I know how I'd want to trade it. And that's all I'm going to do. So what if? What if the SPY gets back to that daily zone of resistance with good price action and we see that we're falling out of supply? I would take puts off that zone. I'd take puts off that zone. I would put stops right above the zone, and I would assess my target down at about 594, my next zone. So this is visually what my plan would look like here on the SPY. Getting shorts off the zone, putting stops above the zone, setting my target down at my next zone. Is this a trade with good risk reward? It is. It's a 5-to-1 risk reward. So would I take this trade if it's setting up short off the zone? Yes. I know where I would want to get in. I know where my stops would be. I know where my realistic target would be. And I know it's good risk reward. So I'm willing to take that trade if I see it setting up. So that's trade idea number one. What's trade idea number 2? We come down into that 594 zone of support, and we have phenomenal price action, and we see a reversal setting up off that zone. If we see a reversal setting up off that zone and we have good price action, what would Josh want to do? Well, he would play calls. He would get long. We're at the zone. Where would stops go? Below the zone. Where would target be? Next zone. What's my risk reward? 6-1. Would I take the trade if it sets up like this? Yes. So I'm good to go. And there are going to be some times I do this where it's like, okay, here's my entry. Here's my stop. Here's my target. What's my risk reward? A 1-1. Would I take that trade if it set up? No. Why? Risk reward sucks. There are going to be trades that I think I would normally take, but I built the plan and the risk reward's garbage. So I'm not going to take that trade in the moment if I see it setting up. I have an idea of what I want to do and what I'm going to stay away from. And then last plan, if we come down and crack and fall below that 594 zone and retest it as resistance, would I take that trade? Yes. To what side? The short side. I would play puts. Entries along the retest. Stops back above the zone. Target, where? Demand. So right into that demand zone would be my target. What's the risk reward? A 5-1. Would I take that trade if it sets up? Yes. So now I'm ready. I've done all of my analysis across every time frame. I found my key zones, the best of the best areas that I want to trade off of. And as long as I just trade off these zones, the odds of me winning are in my favor. 70% of the time, I'm going to win on a trade that sets up off one of my zones. So now what? I visualized the types of trades that I would want to take today and how I would expect to see the market set up for me to take a trade. I have an idea of what I would want to see to execute. And I know that I have good risk reward on all of these potential trades. So I'm ready to go. I am prepared for market open and I'm ready to rock and roll. So I'm good. SPY, we're dialed in. Let's move on. Q. We're doing the same thing. Top-down analysis. Visualize those trade ideas and get prepared. All right, so what do we have here on the Qs? Let's go ahead and mark up some key zones of support and resistance. We're going to start there because I know there's no supply to the upside. I know we got some demand to the downside, but demand's pretty far away. So I know realistically for today's session, based on what I see, I'm primarily going to be working daily zones of support resistance, because I don't have any daily supply demand nearby, okay? So first daily zone, we got 1 hit, 2 hit, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hits over the past 3 weeks. So you got lots of hits, and you see some sharp moves off that zone. Big sharp move off that zone. Hit it as low a day yesterday. Nice pop off the zone. And if we want to build more conviction in the zone, just take it out to the left. And you're like, oh, shoot, look at that. Gap down, open low a day, big rip. So we see sharp moves off the zone, and we got a lot of hits off that zone. So that's going to give you a zone between 521.75 to 522.70. That's going to be a very key level here on the Qs. Let's work our way up. Where's our next key level if we're looking to the upside? It's going to be up in this region here. Do I want to go up further? I do. I want to go up to right here where I'm capturing all of these daily highs. So I got all of these daily highs captured. I have all of these daily lows back here captured. So I'm really looking at where we had a lot of hits back here. So I got 1, 2, 3 hits, 4, 5 hits, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 different reactions and hits off that zone. That's a great zone. And the types of moves we've seen have been awesome. Look at the gap up, open, high a day, big dump that we just saw on Thursday off that zone, right? Look at that big gap up, open, high a day, big drop off the zone. So the types of sharp moves we've seen off the zone have been very significant. And we got 17 hits. That's a great zone. That's a great zone here on the Qs. That is going to be between 525.97 to 526.46. It's a nice tight zone as well. So that's a great zone. We need to go find one more to the upside. That's, again, just in case the market wants to push higher today. And the next area to the upside that we're going to have here on QQQQQ. We are going to be up. I don't like these top zones. I'm not going to lie. I don't like these upper zones. They're just not as significant, right? I mean, we have how many hits? We got 1 hit, 2, 3 hits, 4 hits. We got like 4 hits off this zone. So it doesn't have a lot of hits. And the types of sharp, significant moves are not as sharp and significant as we've seen off these lower zones. So again, how do we grade the zones? Well, we grade them, right? This is an 8. This is a 9. This is a 4, right? So this zone that's an 8 and a 9, give me good price action and a clear setup off the zone. I'm taking it, right? We come up to the zone that's a 4 with good price action. It's not enough. I still want another confluence just to make sure the odds are in my favor on those lower significant zones. Or I just use it as a target. Like, hey, that zone, I rated it as a 4. I don't want to actively trade off of it, but I'm going to use it as a target. That's something else you guys can do as well. So we got that top zone. It's decent. It's right where we got to yesterday. High a day. We fell off of it. And right now we're at 527. We got that 522 zone. Do I need to go grab any lower zones to the downside? Probably one more lower zone to the downside to wrap this up. And so our final zone is going to be down here between 519.01 to 519.69. Right, so 519.01 to 519.69. That's going to be your final zone. Is there anything else we can do here? Well, we can take the fib retracement, right? Same thing that we did on the SPY. We can do the same thing on the Qs. We can do a fib retracement on that leg to the upside because we do have a clear leg to the upside. Holy crap. What do you notice? Oh, wow. That 519 zone lines up with the fib's golden pocket. Will I play long and get calls off that 519 zone? Yeah, because I already have that fib retracement as a confluence. That's going to be a great A-plus area to play calls here on the Qs because we have some double confluence already sitting off that 519 zone. Anything else to do on a daily? Well, I know there's no demand nearby. I know there's no supply at all-time highs. I'm done on the daily time frame. Now I'm going to go ahead and flip this down into a 4-hour time frame, and now I'm just doing supply-demand analysis to see if there's anything else that stands out to me on a 4-hour time frame. So, any supply? No. Any demand? We'll have demand right here, but that's going to be a very big 4-hour demand zone. I know I'm going to have smaller zones on a lower time frame. So, I know I have 4-hour demand, but I want to keep my chart clean. And so I'm going to go ahead and just flip this right down into a 1-hour. All right, we're looking at the 1-hour time frame. We're looking for that supply-demand zone. So we had some of that supply right up here on a 1-hour time frame. Let's go ahead and mark up that 1-hour supply. Again, we see we had that drop-based drop formation. Price just came up, hit that supply zone, and then dropped pretty hard to the downside. So we still have some of that supply overhead. We got those zones of resistance. We're good. We're good. We're good. You're going to have a decent little demand zone right there on a 1-hour time frame. So there is your 1-hour demand there on the Qs, right? We have this rally, base, rally. That's a very strong demand zone on the 1-hour. Is that right where that 4-hour demand zone is? Yeah, so that's your 4-hour demand zone, right? You go down to the 1-hour, you see you have the 1-hour sitting inside of the 4-hour. So we already know it's inside of the 4-hour demand. We got that 1-hour demand zone, and we already have some overlap, right? Where do you notice that 1-hour demand zone lines up? Well, the 1-hour demand zone lines up with that daily zone of support, and that daily zone of support lines up with the 38.2 fib retracement. All at the same price. I mean, this is not a coincidence. All at the same price. Look at the 38.2 fib level. Look at where your demand zone is and your support zone is. It's all right there. The top end of support is the bottom end of demand, which is right at that 38.2 fib retracement. Is this an A+ area that I would take long and play calls? Absolutely. I have 3 reasons to get long at 522.60. 4-hour, 1-hour demand, daily zone of support, 38.2 fib retracement level. Count me in. Count me in. That's going to be a good area to get long. We got some overlap. So we're good to go on 1-hour demand. Let's go finish this up on a 30 minutes. 30-minute time frame, rally, base rally. It's going to be the same thing as we had on the hour. You got some demand down there on a lower time frame. Let's see if we have anything on an hour. We got the rally, base rally. Already came down, hit those unfilled orders, popped. So nothing down there. Let's go flip back to a 30. Well, I mean, we got that little drop base rally formation on a 30. So that lines up that Fibs golden pocket. That lines up with that daily zone of support. And the 15-minute structure looks like crap. All right, so we're good. We've done our due diligence. Let's go ahead and visualize those game plans for today, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so this is a great example of why we visualize. Why we visualize. Okay? Let's say we break that zone of resistance and it comes back for the retest. Normally, we would just trade that long. It's a break and retest. We would trade it long. Where would entries be? At the zone. Where would stops be? Below the zone. Where would my target be? Well, my target would have to be supply because I have supply overhead. So that's going to have to be my target, is all of that overhead supply, right? So if I see the zone break and it retests and I get in and put stops below the zone and set a target at supply, what's my risk reward? It's a 1.5 to 1. It's like, no, absolutely not. If that trade were to set up and I'm like, oh, there's a break and retest, would I trade it? No. Why? I already know the risk reward sucks. So I'm going to pass on that trade if it looks like it's setting up. That's why we visualize ahead. So we know where would we get in? Where would the target be? Where would stops be? Is that a trade I would even want to take? No, the risk reward's garbage. So I'm going to pass. What if we come up into this 528 zone, hit it as resistance, have great price action, and we see the short setting up? Would I take that trade short? Yes. Where? Entries off the zone. Stops above the zone. Target. Next zone of support. 4-to-1 risk reward. I would entertain that trade. So that's my game plan number 2. If we come up to the 528 zone and we fail to break above it, we get short down to the 526 zone. If we come down to the 526 zone and we hold it as support today, we're going to get long to the 528 zone and just go from zone to zone, from zone to zone. That's all we're looking to do, right? And then finally, if we fall below that 526 zone, retest it as resistance, we fail to get back above it, I will get short off that 526 zone, and I will short this down into our next daily zone of support, that zone of demand, which is also sitting right at that 38.2 retracement. That would be my target down around 522.70 if I play the short. That's my target because that's an area that I'm looking to also get long off of. So it's going to be my target to the short side, and then I would, potentially flip long and play that long back up to like 526 on the Qs. Right? So we're good on the Qs. We're dialed. We have a good idea of what to expect for today, ladies and gentlemen. All right? Any questions about the SPY and the Qs? If not, let's go ahead and start picking apart some of your top stocks for the day. Let's review those. Let's get you guys prepared, and let's make it happen. All right. So what stocks are you guys looking at for the day? I don't really have any insight on Circle IPO, so I could not comment on that. What am I trading? I'm looking at the SPY and the Qs. I trade options, and do I trade the same thing every day? I do. I primarily trade the SPY and the Qs. I trade my methodology consistently, and that's what I do. If I see a good setup, I take it. But what I do is the same thing every day. It never changes. It's the same action. It's the same method. It's the same setups every single day consistently. What's my fib level on the Qs? The price is at 522.50 on the Qs. So my 382 fib retracement level, the price is 522.50. They're on QQQ. On the SPY, my 382 retracement level, that also lines up with some of that demand, is sitting right at 592.15. Do you think we're going to see the SPY at 598 today? I mean, yeah. I mean, there is a key level of resistance that sits right at 598. You got a lot of daily supply sitting at 598 as well. So do I think we can get the 598 and then set up for a short? I do. And I'm looking to short the SPY off 598 today. Kevin, what's up, buddy? I see the chat on the tube. You want to do some analysis on ES? Let's do some analysis on ES. So yeah, we got that supply zone on ES. Again, I'm very picky. Price has already come back in, hit some of those unfilled orders, impulsed out. I'm only going to look at the area where price has not been. So there's still some of that unhit daily supply to the upside. We had some supply here. Price already drove through it, beating that zone up. We're done. Got a decent little just zone of resistance sitting right there on ES. So between like 59.86.75 to 59.94.25, you got a short-term zone of resistance sitting right there. You got 1 hit, 2 hit, 3 hit. Yesterday makes it 4. So still not tons of hits. But we're going to take that zone out to the left and see how many more awesome hits we have. That's an awesome hit off that zone right here. Gap down, low a day, big bounce on back up. So that's a hit, and that's a very sharp, significant move off that zone. So let's count how many hits. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I mean, there's a lot of hits. There's a lot of little hits when we really drill this down and look at some of these daily candles. Next thing, sharp, significant move. Low a day, big bounce. Gap down low a day, big bounce. High a day, rejection. Swept that level, high a day, rejection. That's a key zone here on ES daily. So you got that key zone of support resistance above it. We got some of that daily supply up there. We got another daily zone sitting right here on ES. And this is another just daily zone of support resistance. Got quite a few hits. Sharp moves off this area as well. It's a nice tight zone. It's between 60.39.50 to 60.44.50. And we can see that we hit this level many, many times. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. You got 5, 6, 7. So you got like 7, 8 hits off that zone. But I like it because it's where we previously hit those all-time highs, topped out, rolled on over. We grinded that level for about a week straight. And then I like that low-a-day pop. I mean, we came down, hit that level low-a-day, big bounce. So it's a decent little zone. You got some hits off of it. You got some sharp moves off of it. Prior all-time high resistance. That's an area that stands out to me. And if you haven't adjusted your supply zone, well, hey, that gives you a nice, tight daily zone of resistance inside of that supply that has a hit. But again, I just like to look at the area of supply that hasn't been hit. I'm picky. All right, cool. So we got our top 2 zones of resistance. We got some supply to the upside. Let's go look left and see what we've gotten to the downside as far as any good areas of support resistance. And we'll start looking at supply demand. So here's an area on ES Daily that does stand out. I want to drag that zone down a little bit. All right, that's the zone. It's 59.45.75 to 59.58. But that's a great daily zone. We hit it 4 times back-to-back. Here's resistance. Nice drop off the zone. You break it, you hold it. 2 days back-to-back as support. Nice pop to the upside. Yeah, you got some wicks below it here, but I guarantee you drill this to a lower time frame. You most of the time have good development off that zone when you just see little wicks through it. But again, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You got 14 hits off the zone, but I like the types of moves we've seen off the zone, right? We hit it, sharp reaction to the downside. Gap up, open, big pop to the upside. Low a day, nice bounce. High a day, big drop. High a day, big drop. So that's going to be a decent little level here on ES as well. It's going to be a decent level on ES. So I've gotten all my best of the best zones of support resistance. I mean, there's going to be one more that I want to throw in here on ES because I know we had this zone on the SPY and it's been a very well-respected zone. So I would assume it's going to be very well-respected here on ES as well. That's between 59.2275 to 59.2750. I mean, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hits just in this region here. But look at the type of sharp, significant moves we've had off that zone. It's a dialed-in zone. We could even run that zone back, and we get several more hits off that zone, and we got some sharp moves off of it. So that's a very dialed-in zone as well. Let's go flip this down into some lower time frames, and let's do some supply-demand analysis just on these lower time frames. There's your little rally-based drop formation on the SPY. So it's right above that 59.90 zone. If you look left, was that inside of the daily, though? Yeah, no, the daily's up here, so that formed outside of the daily. And that's just a recent little zone. But, I mean, you have all the supply. Rally-based drop. Was that just a hit off that zone back there? That was just a hit off the bottom part of that larger zone. So, yeah, I would still say that's a hit off that previous zone, but it's still an area that you can definitely have plotted on up. But again, I see that one zone being respected very nicely, that 59.8675 to 59.9425 zone. It's being respected really nice as resistance here this morning. To the downside, I mean, here's some 4-hour demand we got down here on ES. So we got that little 4-hour demand zone, nice little drop base rally. Been kind of sitting sideways here for the past, I don't know, 16 hours, 12 hours. Popped on up. If you want to go throw that little supply zone up there, you can. We see that it was a hit off that larger one back in the day. I got some demand resting right at that next daily zone of support around 59.20. So I'm already seeing a great area to want to play long ES down at that 59.20 zone of support, which is also the top end of that demand zone on a 4-hour. Let's flip her down into a 1-hour time frame. Again, we already talked about supply to the upside. We're good. Demand. Yeah, you're going to have some overlap. You got the nice little rally base. No, you got the drop base rally formation right there. And I would actually count both of these because that's where the impulse starts. That's where the impulse starts. I would look at having just 2 little basing candles resting down there, personally, before the impulse. So you got some 1-hour lining up inside the 4-hour that lines up with that daily zone of support. Another little 1-hour basing candle right there. We got some better demand resting down below. But that was all a previous hit, though, because that's where demand was from the previous session. We had the rally, base, rally, price comes down, hits some of those unfilled orders, pops out. So that's already a couple hits off that previous demand zone. So we just have to count this is not fresh demand. It was already a previous hit. We've got 2 hits off of it. This would be the 3rd hit. And it's only 4-hour, 1-hour coming into the 3rd hits. But at least we know we have that daily zone of support sitting right there as another confluence here on ES. And then let's go wrap this up on a 30-minute time frame on ES and see if there's anything else that really just stands out to us. I mean, yeah, we can see we had some like 1 hour, 30-minute demand sitting in this region here, right below that daily zone of support. We already know that this was all a hit off that previous demand. So, I mean, yeah, simply because we have a daily zone of support down there and we still have some good structure, I would still utilize some of that lower demand, simply because we have some additional confluence with it down around 59.20 for a possible reaction. Nice little pop, nice little bounce. But I don't really see anything else that stands out to me. Nothing else that's really standing out. I'm really just working these daily zones. And so I would say my lits on ES would have to be this 59.8675 to 59.9425 zone. That would have to be my lits. That's my make or break. If we come up into the midpoint of that lits and we have good price action, I would want to short the crap out of ES into my next zone. And I like the setup, right? Comes up, hits the midpoint of that zone, drops. Comes up to the very top of that zone. Just great price action off the top of the zone. Price falls pretty sharp to the downside. If we come back up and put in a lower high off that key daily zone of resistance, I would expect to see price drop on off. So I would be looking to get short right around 59.90 on ES and play the short back into these lows, because this is setting up to be a really good reversal formation. But if we see price just blast through that zone and we put in a higher high, I would wait to see the retest off that 59.90 zone and play the long back up probably into these highs here. That'd be a good little scalp to get about 16 points out of ES. So, yeah, it just comes down to this zone. What do we do? If we stay below it, I would short it back into those pre-market, post-market lows. If we break the zone and hold it, I would get long into those pre-market highs from last Thursday here on ES. I need another cup of coffee, man. I'm only on 1 cup. I got to have 2 cups. NVIDIA, next resistance point. Let's go into NVIDIA. We have this rally-based drop formation. Look left. We had this nice little drop, base drop. That was just hitting some of that previous supply. Dropped on off. This is an easy one on NVIDIA as far as like the next key area of resistance. It's actually the area that we just hit yesterday. So it's the zone that we just hit yesterday between 141.27 to 141.92. I mean, high a day, nice rejection, high a day rejection, low a day bounce. Grind that zone 4 days back-to-back as resistance. Look left. I mean, we've hit this area several times in the past. That's a great zone, and it's the same area that we just ran up into yesterday and got rejected off of it. But that's going to be the nearest, strongest level of resistance here on NVIDIA. It's going to be that 141.27 to 141.92. If we fail to break that level, I would honestly say you've got a lot of potential to see NVIDIA just kind of fizzle on back down towards around 137.16 to 137.96. That's NVIDIA. Looks like we're above that zone, though. We're above that zone. So that is a make or break on NVIDIA. If we hold that zone and we continue to pop to the upside, where are we going next? I would say next key zone is between 143.45 to 143.95. So here's how I would play NVIDIA. If we hold above the 141.27 to 141.92 zone today, and we hold it, you got buyers in control off that level, your next area of resistance is not until you get up into the high 143s. The high 143s. You can play it long into the high 143s. But if we see price fall back below this zone, retest it with a lower high, I would definitely look to short NVIDIA down to 138. Down to 138 on NVIDIA.